Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik. Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, Vancouver's best, favorite auto service experience. How are you doing today, Bernie?
Doing very well this morning.
So we're going to talk about a 2007 Ford 350 Superduty. You had to do a ball joint replacement on this vehicle. What was going on?
Well, we did. We replaced ball joints. We also did some brake work. The vehicle originally came in for front brakes. It was making some grinding noises, and the front brakes were worn out. The owner, who's a somewhat regular client, had called us about the ball joints actually quite some time ago and mentioned that they did need to be replaced. He'd had some new tires put on. So we had a look at the ball joints and found that, yes, they were, in fact, couldn't wait any longer. He was on beyond borrowed time, very, very dangerous. So we replaced the ball joints and the brakes. I'll share a video. This is actually really interesting to look at. It gives you an idea what a worn out ball joint looks like. So just give me a second here. I'll find the video because I think we're looking at you. Here we go. All right, so we'll just make a big screen, and here we go. So if you look at that wobbling thing up there with the sort of reddish color, the red is rust. I'll just repeat the video again. That should not be moving like that at all. There should be no movement there. This is really severe. And we'll play one more time. With that rust there, that indicates that the part's been badly worn for quite a long time. This is the upper ball joint. This was the worst worn part, but there is a lower ball joint. And we're back.
Yep.
Also a lower ball joint, which I did not include in that video, that also had play, but not as extreme as the upper. So that's what a very worn ball joint looks like. Can't get my words out properly this morning. That's what a very worn ball joint looks like. And if it should be replaced long before it ever gets to that point of wear.
So is there anything unusually complicated about this repair?
Well, this particular Ford Super Duty, they make it a little more complicated than an average vehicle. Just to talk a little bit about ball joints in general, I mean, the simplest ball joints are on a car with a McPherson strut suspension. It has one lower ball joint, which are often not that difficult to replace. On this particular vehicle, it's a four-wheel drive, so it's got an upper and lower ball joint, plus it also has a drive axle that goes right through the middle of the hub. And in order to take the ball joints apart, you have to remove the drive axle first. You also have to take the brakes off, which is typical of many ball joint jobs. So take the brake rotor and the caliper off, take the wheel hub off, and then take the axle out. So that's what's involved in doing this job. So there's extra steps, mostly because it's a four-wheel drive.
So what does a ball joint do? Does that allow the suspension to go up and down and the wheel to turn, basically?
It does, actually. So it allows the wheels, it allows the steering knuckle, which is the piece that the wheel is attached to, it allows that to turn and move. And as you said, it allows it to move up and down. Now, actually, on a truck like this, it doesn't, because this is a solid front axle, or at least semi-solid front axle. So there actually is no up and down movement in these ball joints. They only do a side-to-side movement, or sorry, yeah, like rotational movement, but nothing up and down. But most cars and any independent suspension vehicle will have up and down movement to the ball joint as well. There's pretty complicated motion involved with it.
So is there anything that an owner of one of these vehicles can do to extend the life of their ball joints?
Well, just before I get to that, I do want to talk just one other complication to the service on one of these Fords, because what Ford is designed is they have an automatic locking hub. It's more fuel efficient if you're in two-wheel drive to not have the hubs locked in. There's less moving drivetrain parts, but on these vehicles, Ford's mechanism for locking and unlocking the hubs, as well as making it convenient for the owner, where you can just push a button in the cars, to have a vacuum operated system where it'll actually, when you push the button, it'll actually use engine vacuum to suck the locking hubs into place and lock them, and then when you disengage it, it unlocks it. So what they've done with this is they've added a bunch of extra seals around the, not a bunch, but a couple of extra seals around the universal joint where it slides into the wheel hub. So this adds more labor and more cost to doing the job. So I just want to throw that in there before we talk about what an owner can do. But basically, as a vehicle owner, there's not a lot you can do unless you have a lubricatable ball joint. And most 99% of cars and trucks don't have them anymore. They're all lubed from the factory. They're sealed. They actually last a long time. However, when you replace ball joints, like these replacement units are lubable, and so you need to lubricate them probably at least once a year just to make sure they last. But there's not much else you can do. They'll just wear out in their own time. And some vehicles are better than others. These Ford trucks, they do last a fair amount of time. Dodge trucks, not so long, as we've talked about. Most cars, they're pretty durable. They'll last at 100,000 or 200,000 kilometers.
So any other thoughts on this repair?
Generally it's a Ford. Just to talk generally about these Ford trucks, I mean, they're awesome vehicles, tough. They can handle a lot of load. This is a diesel, so it can haul very heavy loads. It can handle heavy loads. But if you don't need it, don't buy the truck, because this repair with the brakes and the ball joint, it's a very expensive job. So if you don't really need that kind of weight, and that kind of it's a tool. And if you don't really need the that sort of sledgehammer toughness, well then maybe better to get a lighter duty truck because it'll cost you less money to maintain.
So there you go. If you're looking for service on your F350, the guys to go see in Vancouver are Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver. They're on Marine Drive near Oak Street. You can call them at 604-327-7112 to book. They are busy. You must book ahead, or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.